Listen carefully. When someone tries to humiliate you, your first instinct is usually to defend yourself, to explain, to justify, to prove you're not what they just said you are. But that instinct is exactly how you lose. The moment you rush to react, you've already handed them a map of your emotions. You've shown them where your buttons are, and worse, that they still work. You've exposed the exact strings they can pull to make you dance. Machiavelli understood something most people still refuse to admit. The world doesn't respect your emotions, it studies them. Every time you rise to anger, every time you get pulled into an argument to prove your point, every time someone can drag a reaction out of you, you are teaching them how to control you. They don't need to analyze you deeply. They just need to watch what makes you flinch. People don't insult you because they hate you. Most of the time, they barely think about you. They insult you to test you. They're running diagnostics on your mind. They want to know, can I shake you? Can I crack your self-image with a few words? Is your identity something solid, or is it made of glass? That's why the strongest men in history didn't waste energy winning arguments. They won something more important. Mystery. They mastered silence. They let other people expose themselves while they remained unreadable. Here's the dark truth. The one who reacts, reveals. The one who stays calm, controls. An insult is never just an attack. It's an invitation, a question. Do you really know who you are, or do you need me to define it for you? The moment you answer emotionally, you've already surrendered. You've made their opinion the judge of your worth. But the person who can stand still in that moment, who lets the chaos swirl around them without losing their center, becomes unnerving. Not because they're aggressive, but because they're unreadable. Nobody knows what's going on behind their eyes, and that uncertainty is terrifying. Nothing exposes people faster than their reaction to your silence. So next time someone tries to put you down, don't hand them your energy like a gift. Let them speak. Let their words hang in the air. Let the echo of their own insecurity bounce back at them. Because here's the truth. Only unstable people desperately need to prove how unshaken they are. Truly strong people don't flinch, they watch. Machiavelli said, "He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still." That's your goal, not to dominate them, to dominate yourself. If you're serious about stepping into that mindset, write this down in your mind like an internal command. My silence is my power. Let's go deeper. 1. The psychology behind insults. Every insult has a hidden function. It's not really about the words. It's about control. People use insults like probes. They're testing your emotional system. Which emotion shows up first? Anger, shame, insecurity, defensiveness? Which topics make your face change? Which jabs make you lose your composure? When someone mocks your looks, your status, your choices, or your worth, they're not just joking. They're gathering data. They want to see your emotional temperature spike. They want to know which parts of you are still fragile. Insults are rarely accidents. They're targeted. Sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, but targeted. And here's the trap. Most people take it personally. They swallow the bait. They argue. They defend. They overshare. And without realizing it, they hand over their emotional blueprint to the other person. That's why Machiavelli warned those who want power to stay unreadable. Predictability is the death of dominance. If people know exactly how to get a reaction from you, they'll never stop. So when someone insults you, understand this. They are not just attacking you. They are measuring you. They're asking, what breaks you? What hurts you? What are you secretly afraid might be true? The more you respond, the more information you give them. What started as a small joke or a light jab slowly becomes a control system. They now know what to repeat, when to repeat it, and how hard to press. Over time, you lose your ability to stay grounded. You live on defense. You become easy to provoke. But if you understand this psychology, you can flip the game completely. Instead of being the one tested, you become the tester. You stay calm. You stay quiet. You watch. You let them talk. You let them reach for a reaction that never comes. And here's what happens. When someone insults you and you don't bite, the experiment fails. Their need for control collapses. The silence burns them more than any comeback could. They start asking themselves, why didn't that work? What kind of person doesn't react to that? What is he hiding inside that makes him so steady? That's when power quietly shifts. Machiavelli once said that people are simple and governed by circumstances, which makes them easy to deceive and manipulate when they're emotional. The one who can't control their anger or pride will always dance to someone else's tune. The one who pauses, observes, and thinks before reacting becomes impossible to manipulate. So the next time someone throws verbal poison at you, don't absorb it. Analyze it. Don't react record. Because every insult carries a piece of truth, but not about you, about them, their envy, their insecurity, their need for attention, their fear that you might be more than they can handle. Insults are psychological mirrors. They reflect the instability of the person throwing them. Once you understand that, words lose their ability to wound you. You don't just hear what they said, you decode why they said it. And once you can decode people, you control the interaction. That's real emotional intelligence. Not softness, not being nice, but strategic awareness. Lock this into your identity. I see through the noise. When you can do that, no insult can truly touch you again. 2. The Machiavellian principle. Control the frame. Power isn't always about force. Most of the time, it's about the frame, the invisible space where meaning is created. And here's the truth most people never realize. People don't lose power because they're weak. They lose power because they accept someone else's frame of reality. When a person insults you, they're not just throwing words at you. They're inviting you into a psychological arena they control. That arena is built on provocation, chaos, and emotional bait. The moment you react, you've stepped into their frame. Now you're playing by their rules. You're now the character in their story. But Machiavelli understood something far more strategic. The one who defines the frame defines the outcome. He wrote that perception is stronger than truth, because people live according to appearances more than objective reality. Meaning, control how something looks, and you've already shaped how people interpret it. So what happens when someone insults you and you stay calm? You shift the entire frame instantly. Your stillness makes them look unstable. Your silence makes their aggression look desperate. Your composure makes their attempt at dominance look childish. The spotlight moves. Suddenly, the insult doesn't matter anymore. What matters is the contrast between your calm and their chaos. They become the one under inspection. Their behavior becomes the topic. Their insecurity becomes visible. That's why emotional control isn't just maturity. It's strategy. Every time you stay out of an emotional battle someone tries to drag you into, you silently redefine the hierarchy. You move from being a participant to being an observer. And the observer always has the upper hand. In any conflict, the person who reacts first loses status. The person who sets the emotional tone gains gravity. Think of it like chess. A grandmaster never panics when attacked. He calmly repositions, letting the opponent overextend. That's how conflicts work too. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." A fool reacts emotionally, then regrets. A wise man sees the frame, understands it, and refuses to step into it. When you stay calm under an insult, people begin to question themselves. Why didn't he react? Is he not affected? Does he know something I don't? Is he stronger than I realized? Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their instability. They might raise their voice, but your silence raises the tension. They attempt to provoke, but your composure exposes their lack of discipline. Eventually, the frame collapses. Their attempt to dominate fails, and without you ever lifting a finger. The true Machiavellian doesn't need to prove dominance. He becomes the emotional environment others must adapt to. Once you master this, something powerful happens. People stop trying to unsettle you. They start adjusting their behavior around you. They begin to measure their words because your calm demands respect. This is the invisible realm of influence, the space where true power lives. Not loud, not aggressive, quiet, effortless, controlled. Control the frame, and you control the meaning. Control the meaning, and you control the mind. Every moment you remain calm in a storm, you rewrite the unspoken rules of the interaction. That's why composure isn't weakness. It's authority in disguise. Lock this into your identity. I control the frame. 3. Silent authority. The world misunderstands silence. People think silence means uncertainty, that it signals fear, that quietness equals weakness. But Machiavelli would disagree. Silence is not the absence of power, it is the refinement of power. The person who can stay wordless while others are scrambling for attention has real authority. The person who can sit still while others try to provoke him holds the advantage before the battle even begins. When someone insults you, the most effective response is not a counterattack. It's not a defense. It's not a clever comeback. It's stillness. That stillness is not empty. It carries a psychological weight strong enough to break people from the inside out. It forces them to confront themselves. People insult you expecting motion. They expect your face to change, your tone to shift, your body to react. They expect a ripple. But when nothing moves, when you remain silent, it unsettles them in a way words never could. Their mind begins to question, did it not land? Why isn't he reacting? Does he see right through me? Is he stronger than I thought? Confusion turns to discomfort. Discomfort turns to respect. Humans instinctively respect mystery. The loud are transparent. The reactive are predictable. But the silent, they become something else entirely, an unknown variable people can't calculate. Machiavelli once said that the lion can't protect himself from traps, and the fox can't defend himself from wolves. You must be both. The fox who sees danger, and the lion who radiates fearlessness. Silence is both the fox and the lion. It hides your intentions while projecting quiet danger. When you say nothing, people begin to imagine everything. They project their fears, insecurities, or assumptions onto your silence. Your silence becomes a canvas, and their mind paints the picture. That's what makes silent authority so powerful. It lets others reveal themselves while you remain unreadable. In politics, relationships, business, everywhere, those who speak the least often control the most. Not because they're passive, but because every unnecessary word is a clue about their inner world. Silence denies people those clues. It keeps them guessing. It makes them adjust. It makes them cautious. And in that caution you rise. Stillness communicates something profound. You are not worth my emotional energy. And that message is louder than any argument. People fear being ignored more than being confronted. They fear irrelevance, and ignoring someone strips them of exactly that. Silence feels like dominance because it exposes their noise and reveals your control. Most people cannot stand the reflection they see in your silence. They mistake your calm for superiority, and in that perception, you gain power. Remember this: silence is not passivity. It is discipline turned into presence. The moment you remain still under verbal fire, you stop being a participant and become a force. Your silence becomes your influence. Lock this into your identity. My silence commands respect. 4. Self-awareness creates immunity. Every insult that actually hurts you reveals something important. It exposes an unhealed part of you. Words only sting when they strike a place where you're still insecure, still seeking approval, still hiding something from yourself. That's why two people can hear the exact same insult, and one laughs while the other breaks. The difference isn't in the insult. The difference is in the self-awareness. True power begins the moment you recognize this simple truth. The world cannot insult what you have fully accepted. When you know yourself so completely that no external opinion can distort your inner image, you become emotionally immune. Machiavelli believed the strength wasn't built from pretending to be flawless. It was built from understanding human nature, including your own, especially your own. When someone attacks your weakness, they're betting on your lack of awareness. They're expecting you to defend, deny, or react. Because reacting confirms vulnerability. It signals there's something inside you that isn't stable yet. But self-awareness flips this entire dynamic. It transforms an insult into information. Instead of thinking, "Why did they say that?" you begin to think, "Why did that affect me?" And that shift changes everything. It turns you from a puppet being pulled by emotional strings into a strategist studying the battlefield. Once you own your flaws, truly own them, you rob others of the ability to weaponize them. If someone calls you arrogant, and you understand that confidence often looks like arrogance to the insecure, their words lose all meaning. If someone mocks your ambition, and you've already accepted that not everyone will understand your vision, their opinion becomes background noise. Most insults are not even about you. They are projections. Every insult becomes a mirror, reflecting their insecurity, their envy, their fear of your growth, their discomfort in your presence. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men who honor titles." Your worth is not something people give you. It's something you create internally. When you define your value from within, no insult can redefine it from the outside. Self-awareness makes you untouchable not because you become perfect, but because you stop depending on external validation. You begin to observe your emotions instead of being dominated by them. You feel anger rise, but you choose calm. You feel the sting of disrespect, but you don't feed it. You feel the urge to defend yourself, but you don't need to. This composure terrifies people who rely on emotional chaos. They expect you to break, but instead, you reflect. That's when they realize your silence isn't weakness. It's control. The secret to emotional immunity is simple. You cannot be hurt by what you've already accepted. When you make peace with your imperfections, criticism loses voltage. Insults dry up. Words that once pierced now fall flat. You stop hearing them through insecurity and start hearing them through awareness, and that shift changes your presence. People feel it. They sense that their words no longer reach you. They sense that you no longer fear judgment, and that unsettles them deeply. You've evolved beyond reaction, into mastery. You've learned that power isn't about proving others wrong. It's about no longer needing others to validate your rightness. Lock this into your identity. I am untouchable. 5. Learn from what they reveal. Every insult you receive is a confession wearing a mask. The words people use to attack you often reveal far more about their internal battles than your character. A man drowning in envy will accuse others of arrogance. A person who feels inferior will call others fake or full of themselves. Someone who fears being overlooked will mock ambition. Someone insecure will mock confidence. People project what they cannot face within themselves. Machiavelli understood this flaw in human nature. He wrote about how the weak disguise resentment as moral superiority, and how jealousy hides behind false concern. When someone insults you, it's rarely a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of who they are when confronted with you. Insults reveal what threatens people: your confidence, your composure, your progress, your lack of reaction. Their hostility is not a display of power, it's an expression of pain. This means you should never blindly absorb an insult. You should study it. Insults are intelligence. They show you how people perceive you. They show you what they envy or fear. They show you where their ego cracks under pressure. Every insult is a piece of psychological data. Emotionally intelligent people don't retaliate. They extract meaning. Machiavelli wrote, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." Apply the same principle here. If someone constantly speaks with bitterness, it reveals their internal bitterness. If someone constantly attacks others' character, it reveals their own insecurity. If someone constantly tries to provoke, it reveals their own lack of control. The more someone tries to insult you, the more transparent they become. You stay calm, you observe their tone, you watch their persistence, and each action becomes a window into their psyche. What began as an attempt to expose your weakness ends with them exposing theirs. When you treat insults as lessons instead of attacks, you gain a strategic advantage most people never develop: perspective. You begin to see patterns. Who insults out of envy? Who mocks out of fear? Who belittles to mask shame? You no longer take it personally. You take it professionally. The greatest warriors don't hate their enemies, they study them. Awareness becomes your weapon, not anger. And once you reach this level of clarity, insults lose their poison. The world becomes a mirror. You see that what people say to you is really about what they cannot accept in themselves. Lock this into your identity. I learn from every insult. 6. The art of subtle replies. There will be moments when silence is the strongest move, but there will also be moments when a response is necessary. Not to defend yourself, not to win the exchange, but to end it with elegance and control. This is where Machiavelli's finesse comes in. He understood that the sharpest weapons are not loud, emotional comebacks. They are calm, subtle replies that flip the energy without raising your voice. Most insults collapse when met with composure, but a well-crafted, emotionally neutral response can do something more powerful. It can turn the attacker's own momentum against them. Take this example. Someone says, "You've changed." The insecure immediately rush to justify themselves. "No, I haven't. You don't understand. I'm still the same." But the powerful simply say, "That's what growth looks like." It's final. It ends the conversation without drama. It signals that your evolution does not need their permission. Another example. Someone sneers. You think you're better than everyone. The reactive get defensive, but the composed respond with, "I think differently." Short, steady, unshakable. The beauty of a subtle reply is not the cleverness, it's the neutrality. Your tone doesn't rise. Your eyes don't shift. Your breathing stays calm. People expect emotional chaos. They prepare for confrontation. They want to see you flinch. But when you answer with calm precision, you break their mental script. Their attack loses balance. Their confidence cracks. Their argument collapses inward. This is why Machiavelli wrote, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." Because speaking with calmness in the face of disrespect is dangerous. It reveals a deeper strength, a mind disciplined enough to stay poised under pressure. When you master subtle replies, every word becomes strategic, not reactive, not defensive, surgical. Here's the formula. Short sentence, steady tone, no emotion, no justification, no anger, no explanation. The goal is not to humiliate. The goal is to end the exchange without losing your dignity. There is one more element people overlook: the silence after your words. You deliver your calm line, and then you stop. You let the silence hold them. That silence becomes the real impact. It forces them to sit with the imbalance they created. It forces them to feel the weight of your composure. People around you notice it too. They see who stayed grounded and who lost control. Subtle replies become a quiet demonstration of dominance. Not the dominance of ego, but the dominance of emotional mastery. And here's the truth. Once you learn to speak with this level of control, people stop trying to provoke you. Your neutrality unravels their attempts before they even begin. Your words become rare, deliberate, and meaningful. Your presence speaks louder than any insult they could throw. Lock this into your identity. My calmness ends conflicts. 7. The long game of composure. Machiavelli understood that real authority isn't something you show once. It's something you prove over time. Composure is not a moment. Composure is a pattern. Anyone can stay calm for 5 seconds. Anyone can hold their tongue once. Anyone can act unbothered when it's easy. But power comes from consistency. Life will test you repeatedly. People will provoke you at random moments. Situations will try to pull you into chaos. Most people fall for the bait because their ego demands immediate results, immediate respect, immediate victory, immediate validation. But the Machiavellian mind thinks long-term. He knows that emotional impulsivity destroys leverage, that reacting quickly means losing strategically, that rushing to prove something is the fastest way to show weakness. This is where composure becomes a long game. When you remain unshaken repeatedly, your calm builds its own reputation. People begin to view you differently. They trust your steadiness. They respect your restraint. They fear your silence. Over time, your composure becomes its own form of authority. Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally," meaning, the wise do from the beginning what fools only manage to do after they've been punished by the consequences. The fool reacts emotionally first, then learns later. The wise maintain control from the start. Time exposes everyone. Those who thrive on drama burn out. Those who crave attention fade. Those who can't control their emotions eventually reveal their instability. But the composed, they rise. They endure. They outlast. Your calm becomes a fortress. People who depend on chaos eventually exhaust themselves. Their own inconsistency destroys their influence, while your steady presence grows more powerful each time they fail to shake you. Composure is not pretending nothing affects you. It's mastering yourself so deeply that provocation loses its meaning. Over weeks, months, years, your silence becomes a signature. Your restraint becomes a brand. Your lack of reaction becomes strength. People begin to notice. He never gets dragged into nonsense. She doesn't get flustered. He stays focused. She doesn't take the bait. This creates something rare in today's world, a reputation for reliability. The longer you maintain composure, the more people respect you without you ever demanding respect. Leaders are formed quietly, not through dramatic moments, but through invisible discipline repeated again and again. Eventually, the same people who mocked your calmness start imitating it. They realize what you already knew. Control is stronger than aggression, and consistency is stronger than chaos. Lock this into your identity. My calm outlasts chaos. 8. The final power shift. There comes a moment, after enough practice, enough self-control, enough emotional discipline, when something subtle but profound happens inside you. Insults stop feeling like threats. They stop registering as attacks. They stop meaning anything at all. They simply pass through you, like wind slipping past a stone. And when that happens, when your internal world becomes so steady that nothing external can destabilize it, the entire power dynamic reverses. The same people who once tried to provoke you now hesitate before speaking. They second-guess their tone. They watch your face for cues. They tread carefully, not because you threatened them, not because you fought back, not because you demanded respect, but because your composure creates an atmosphere they cannot navigate. You've become unreadable. And in a world addicted to reaction, unreadability is terrifying. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote that people fear what they cannot predict and respect what they cannot understand. When you no longer react, no longer flinch, no longer reveal anything, you become an enigma. And people fear enigmas far more than they fear aggressors. An aggressive person shows their cards. An emotional person reveals their weak spots. A reactive person exposes their insecurities. But someone who says nothing, someone who stays calm in every situation, someone whose expression barely moves, people don't know what to do with that. Your lack of reaction becomes a mirror, and they see their own instability reflected in it. That's when real influence begins. People start adjusting themselves around you. They soften their tone. They choose their words more carefully. They behave with more respect. They unconsciously fall into your emotional rhythm. Your calm becomes the center of gravity in the room. You don't assert power, you radiate it. You don't win battles, you avoid them without losing an ounce of authority. You don't dominate by force, you dominate by presence. This is the highest form of power, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But he wasn't talking about cruelty. He was talking about presence, about the quiet fear people feel when they realize they cannot manipulate you. Fear born from respect. Respect born from control. When you cannot be emotionally moved, you become the one who moves others. When you cannot be provoked, you become the one who sets the tone. When you cannot be shaken, you become the one others revolve around. That is the final transformation, from the one who used to react to the one who defines the reactions of others. Power no longer needs to be expressed. It is simply felt. Your stillness becomes magnetic. Your restraint becomes influence. Your calm becomes dominance. And that dominance has nothing to do with aggression. It comes from mastering yourself. That's the lesson most people will never accept. Real strength doesn't roar. Real power doesn't shout. Real confidence doesn't need to announce itself. It stands still. The next time someone tries to insult you, pause. Stay calm. Watch them. Let your silence speak for you. Let them reveal their chaos. Let them expose their insecurity. Let them drown in the echo of their own words. You do not need to react. You do not need to defend. You do not need to prove anything. Every insult is a test, and your lack of reaction is the answer. As Machiavelli taught, perception shapes reality, and nothing reshapes perception more than unshakable composure. If you hold your center, the world will move around you, not the other way around. Lock this into your identity. I do not flinch. Because once you master yourself, you become untouchable.